Slaptail Squad, assemble.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Slaptail Squad, and we are bringing you our very first Slaptail Squad debate. We should have like some sound effects of cheers.
Well, there's probably not that many people in the audience.
So we are bringing you this debate from our respective homes due to the current takeover of the world, COVID-19. So let us begin by introducing our candidates for tonight's debate. We have the Beeve Man, Master of the Universe, President of the Slaptail Nation, has served in the U.S. Army and National Guard for over 12 years. He is the leader of the Slaptail Nation and the leader of several small armies in his head. Uses the word fuck as the ultimate statement, noun, adjective, but prefers it as a verb. Please welcome President Beeve Man.
Thank you, all of you out there, members of the universe, of which I am master, members of my Slaptail Nation Army, and of course the Slaptail Squad. I would like you to notice in
President,
President as well.
This is not a time for you to address the people just yet. This was just an introduction.
But I want to talk about my T-shirt.
Okay,
okay,
not the time.
No, I understand. Moving
on.
I understand that we all agreed to rules, so I'll be quiet now.
Senator, Black Belt, refueling specialist.
Senator, more like presidential candidate, please.
Hey, you're going to take what we have. All right, this is what we wrote up for you.
Oh, we
served in the Air Force with the top secret fueling clearance. He has fueled alien spacecrafts in Area 51. Humble and sensitive, always willing to volunteer his service, even if it means losing a button or two.
Loser.
Senator Ross.
Whoa. First of all, I am not a loser for serving and losing buttons. I think we've all lost a button here or there. So doesn't make us a loser. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How about the fact he can't use technology and his face has been frozen for 5 minutes? Does that make him a loser?
Oh, it does.
Gentlemen, we will refer back to our rules and we will review them once more, what you all agreed to. A reminder, very most important rule of a debate, don't contradict yourself, right?
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. No, not at all.
Do not interrupt when the other candidate is speaking. Keep your answers short and concise. Listen carefully to your opponent and be willing to answer any or address any questions that they may have. No idea is a stupid idea.
What debate have you been at?
Be sure not to raise your voice. And because we are visually recording this, gestures such as sticking up your middle finger, responses will not be allowed. Let's get to our very first question. First question will go to the president, Beeve Man. And this is about chucking wood. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? You will have 2 minutes for a response. Laurence, you'll have a chance to debate.
You know, Tremonde, the American people love woodchucks. In the United States of America, woodchucks are huge. They are literally huge. They are bigger than woodchucks anywhere else in the United States. You know, I can remember as a small child thinking to myself, if I was a woodchuck, would I chuck wood? Obviously I would, because clearly it's an inborn behavior, and it's a learned behavior. And why is that important? Because in America, where woodchucks are huge, and I said that, they chuck a lot of wood. As a matter of fact, when you look at the size of the average woodchuck's bicep in the United States of America, it is much more huge than any other woodchuck throughout the entire world. And how do I know this? Because I created woodchucks. I created woodchucks, not God. God didn't create the woodchuck. Only I did. And I know that a lot of you think that before I came along, there were woodchucks, but I'm here to tell you that there were no woodchucks before the Beeve Man came onto this planet and onto this world, there's actually a possibility that I might have been reincarnated many, many times. And I just keep making things better over and over again as time goes by. So in answer to your question, Tremonde, America.
Good response, President. President, does 2 minutes seem like too long of a time?
Oh no, it's a great amount of time. It's beautiful.
Okay, perfect. So,
But if I could,
we're
but
just
if I
gonna
can knock out that question before 2 minutes, so that the American people understand and know exactly what I'm saying about the wonderful country that America is and the hugeness of the woodchuck in America, then my gosh, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it short if I need to, or I think that people understand what I'm saying.
yes, I believe they do. So you use about 1 minute and 30 seconds of your time. Was that seem like an appropriate amount of time?
Oh, I believe I hit it out of the park.
Okay, perfect. So the Rons, you will not get 2 minutes. We are going to give you only 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is going to make an equivalent of time of what the president had. Your 1 minute and 30 seconds has already started.
Oh, so my minute starts when you say it starts. Unlike the B man, right, who says he's used to finishing short. So we won't go into that debate area because we know that. I feel sorry for all the other women that he knows that he actually lived up to that presidential promise that I can finish in under 2 minutes. Kudos to him. I like that. And to say that he's part of the woodchuck family, I mean, come on. Where's the new Green Deal on this? He would like global warming by cutting down these trees for these woodchucks, these rodents who infest our everything. Yeah, I think he's on their payroll. I really do. And if I had to throw an audit, I think Viagra's with him too, because anybody who can finish under 1 minute and 30 seconds and still claim a victory, I don't know. I'll let the American people decide on that one. But anyway, woodchucks are woodchucks. And when I hear about woodchucks, I think of Chuck Woolery, great show host, by the way. But I won't go there anyway. Else, how much could a woodchuck wood? Why is he wanting these woodchucks to riot in our streets? Right? Don't we have enough rioting going on? No, I say arrest them all. Right? And
Okay.
we're done.
That concludes your 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I could go on longer, but he's not used to that. So I'll let him finish.
President, would you like 10 seconds to respond to anything that the senator has said?
Absolutely. American people, I would just like to say, please listen to what the Rons just said and realize that we are all now dumber for having been exposed to his thought process. Thank you.
Why are we dumber?
Why are you
I'm
talking
sorry,
out?
Senator. You don't
Why are
get
you
to
talk?
answer
Why are you
questions.
talking out of it?
We're moving to our next question. Senator Rons, you have served in the Air Force, correct?
I did.
Will you please speak to how or why your position in the Air Force trumps the service of the Beeve Man president in the Army? Because you were
A refueling specialist.
okay. So please speak to how your position trumps the role of the president.
It doesn't. We all work together as one cohesive unit when the time is needed. Separately, we are our own individuals, something that the president forgets, that who we are, that behind the man, there's a team, right? He's used to, if he's working solo, which of course he finishes in under a minute solo, that's fantastic. We all know that happens. But we work as a cohesive team, right? So to say one is stronger than the other, only in aspects of mission statements. If he can do something that I can't, he would be stronger, I would be weaker. But we work together to get the mission done as one unit. And that goes across the board for anybody in the Air Force. Or for the military, we all work together when the chips are down to have the American way, liberty, freedom, and everything else that goes along with it. And that's it.
President Beeman, your rebuttal.
My rebuttal is this, that the Rond is absolutely correct in stating that he does not believe that he is better than me. Because his position was indeed not better than mine. Mine was far more essential. And let me say this to the American people. American people, as children, boys, girls alike, when you played Army or you played soldier, were you pretending to fuel a vehicle? Is that what you were doing? Were you winning the war by fueling an aircraft? No. You were winning the war by storming the beaches of Normandy and kicking the shit out of Nazis, not by fueling a vehicle. Did you ever step back and at the end of your battle and look around amongst the men and women who served alongside you, whether you were playing soldier or actually being a soldier, and saying, God damn, I'm so glad that somebody fueled our vehicles before we did this. God damn, I'm so glad that you, Bobby, you chose to be our fueling specialist for this mission. And without you, Bobby, we never would have stormed those beaches of Normandy and kicked the shit out of the Nazis. So when the Ron says that his job was no more important than mine, he's obviously goddamn right. His job was not as important as mine. And that's an important thing to remember. And American people, ask yourself this question. Why is this man trying to live off of his laurels of fueling a fucking spacecraft?
We're at your minute and 30 seconds.
I thank you.
Senator Rons, your rebuttal. Yes. You have 30 seconds.
I think I think he said it right. He's used to being in the back, right? He's used to bending over backwards to help everybody out. No one wanted to be, anybody, not a badass, but I think everybody's a badass, right? Or in this case, a big ass like the president. But we work together as a unit, right? And every branch is going to fight within itself. Thing is, without him, without me, America wouldn't exist. And without me, he'd be walking to everywhere he went.
Senator Rons,
yep.
Your time is up. Thank you. B-Man, you will have 20 seconds to respond to what Senator just spoke.
In the brief amount of time that the senator was speaking, he said ass, he said unit, and he said in the back. There's something wrong with this man because he can't seem to stop focusing on units, being in the back, and ass. Clearly, the man is not getting enough at home. He needs to either learn how to self-pleasure himself or pleasure his wife. He talks about the amount of time he can go, says that I can't, but I'm finished the mission.
President.
Conda forever.
Senator, you have 10 seconds.
That's more than enough that he needs to finish. So I will let it go. I'll let the American people decide why he thinks having a bigger unit works for him when it actually doesn't. He knows that.
Thank you, Senator, for your response. Moving on to our next subject. According to study finds, the average adult will spend 416 days in the bathroom. With an excessive amount of time being spent in this space, I will believe that there are some things that we may become more particular about while we are in this space. Should the toilet paper roll clockwise or counterclockwise? We will start with the President B-Man. You will have a minute and 30 seconds to respond.
That's a really good question. And I think the American people like toilet paper. The important thing to remember is not how the toilet paper roll rolls, not whether it is clockwise or counterclockwise. What is important is choice. And in America, our toilet paper is huge. It can be small, it can be huge, it can be thick, it can be soft, it can be hard. If you want sandpaper for your rectal area, you can have it in America. And that's what's important to the American people. I can remember as a child growing up, my parents did not spend a lot of money on toilet paper. Now, they could have. They could have if they wanted to. But they chose to get really thin toilet paper. And it didn't matter if it was clockwise or counterclockwise. That's not what mattered. What mattered was the comfort to your rectal area and the choice that you have in America to decide if you want it hard or if you want it rough. And I can tell by the Ron's face that he wants it rough. I don't know why, because he's always backing that ass up and he's always talking about units and ass and all that other thing. But I'll let the American people decide based on what the Rons has to say. But it's all about choice and it's about hugeness. And it doesn't matter if you want it clockwise or if you want it counterclockwise. If you want it some backdoor action, you want some front door action, doesn't matter. You got that choice in America. Because in America, where the woodchucks are huge, the toilet paper can be huge, it can be small, it doesn't matter which way it goes. All that matters is that you're happy and that you've got a choice. That's what America's about. Choice.
Thank you, President. Exactly a minute and 30 seconds. Well done. Senator Rons?
once again, I'd like to point out that he points out thickness, huge, and backdoor. I think everybody's has a right to use the toilet paper as they feel it's needed. Doesn't matter if it's on the roll, forwards or backwards, or just in your hand as you're replacing the roll. I've seen it several ways. This is America. Have it the way you like it. Not anything special about it. If you need to wipe it, use it for that. It's not only used for the bathroom, it's also used for cosmetics and other places. So just to signify that it's just used for that purpose is confining it. Like the president, we're confined, right? Use it for other things for what it can be, right? Look beyond the potential of just a minute and 30 seconds of just using it there, unless you're in a hurry, right? I know a lot of people who use it for whatever, and that's the way it should be, right? Apparently the president needs a drink or he needs his medication. He's having a hand twitch on camera. I wish you could see that, but it is what it is. We both know that, right? And his rectal cavity, if it needs cleaned out, he should start with the brain first and work his way down. It'll help the American people decide who to vote for.
Thank you, Senator Ron. Staying on the role or the subject of toilet paper. Do you fold and wipe, or do you wrap it around your hand and wipe? Ron, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I use whatever I need to. Toilet paper can be adapted, right? Why just confine it, like I said earlier, to one? If you happen to be on the go and you're out in the woods, what would you use if you had a roll of toilet paper? You wouldn't sit there and be nice to it. You have to use it as needed. That's just the way it is. Our society has learned to adapt and use toilet paper many different ways. And just to say, I'm going to use it this way, limits yourself to the experience of using toilet paper. You use the toilet paper as you need for the situation. Wiping a ruddy nose, wad it up if you need to. Wiping off makeup, fold it up. Stuffing it in somebody's mouth while they're spewing crap about woodchucks, wad it up and shove it in deep, right? Keep it there. America is about freedom and using that freedom to say what you want and curbing stupidity. And toilet paper can, when used right, can curb stupidity. That's what I have to say about that.
President Beeman, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes.
Because all I heard was complete babble and ignorance, no offense, from my opponent, the senator.
Yes, because I'm not sure if the answer was given. The question was, when wiping down, do you fold or do you wrap around your hand?
The question is really a matter of choice, and I think the American people
I've already said that.
And the American people understand choice. You see, it depends on what your preference is for your toilet paper. Do you have a thin toilet paper? Do you have thick toilet paper? What's the ply on your toilet paper? If it's nice and thick, you don't have to fold it. If you like to wrap it around your fingers and your hands, really that's probably about how you were raised and how your mom and dad taught you how to wipe. And in America, our parents like to teach us how to wipe. They like to make sure that we're nice and clean. We wash our hands in America. Now, my opponent, the Rons, would have you believe that washing your hands isn't important. Time and time again, this man has talked nothing but talking about using toilet paper for other things. He just said he likes to cram it down people's throats. Why would you cram toilet paper down somebody's throat? I ask you. That makes no sense. Clearly, the man doesn't wash his hands either. That's obvious. He's always about spreading coronavirus all over the place. He's out going about with no mask on. He's out going out to the beach all the time, talking to people he doesn't even know. This is clearly seen on social media. He talks about it on podcasts. This man doesn't even believe that the coronavirus is real. He doesn't wash his hands. He probably doesn't even use toilet paper, for God's sake. So it doesn't really matter how you wrap it if you're using your hand, because he obviously isn't using toilet paper for its intended purpose when he says he shoves it down people's mouths. Mine's thick enough I don't have to fold it, and I don't like to wrap it around my fingers. But thank you.
President, thank you for your time. President has just segued us into our next subject. Speaking of COVID, how will you and your government eradicate the virus, and what is your timeline? We will start with the president. Beeman.
It's a very good question. As a small child, I often thought that someday we might have to deal with some super pandemic. No, that's not true. I never thought that. The truth is that the handling of the current situation is only worsened by people like my opponent here, the senator, who likes to shove toilet paper up people's asses. I mean, down their throats, or whichever end he decides is appropriate at the time. In order to combat the coronavirus, we must have unity. We must listen to our scientists and not propaganda. We must do the research that needs to be done and inform the American people of the science and not the pseudoscience. Not the pseudoscience that the Rons would have you believe, and all of his babble and all of his gallivanting that he does, all of his time that he spends at the beach talking to people that he doesn't know, spreading the virus, spreading the cooties. You know what? Wherever you go, Rons, Rona goes too. But you keep ignoring it like it doesn't matter and like it's not important. This man would rather listen to fellow fueling specialists about how to combat the virus than listen to scientists. And then I ask you, what the fuck does a fueling specialist know about combating the coronavirus? I'm a fucking doctor, motherfucker. That's what I have to say about that. We're going to follow the fucking science and not
Thank you,
follow the
President, for your
bullshit.
response. Senator Beedman. I'm sorry, Senator Rons.
Well, thank you. I mean, after this election, he will be senator possibly. So thank you for that hopeful outlook. As for the coronavirus, I've always respected scientists. I've always believed it's there. It's the other people that go, it's not. As far as the president says, yes, I am a very sociable person, but I do take precautions. I wear a mask. I keep within, if I'm within a certain distance, I don't touch people. I hand sanitize every chance I get. Unlike our president, who is a doctor, who goes on these little rants about how we can make the world better. But is he making the world better? No, he's complaining about it. You just don't complain, you do, right? You wear a mask, you keep the distance, right? And what more needs to be said? If you don't believe what's going on, that's not the problem we have. We need to educate people like the president and bring them up to speed about the virus, right? And have a timeline. Can we shut it down? Hopefully, but there's still going to be some lingering after effects, like people thinking that they're smarter than the president, or the president thinking he's smarter than everybody else. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But maintain the distance, and I always hand sanitize. And
thank you, Senator Rons.
Yeah, go ahead.
President Beedman, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, I would like to just say that the senator would have you believe that sanitizing your hands has anything to do with combating the fucking virus. Let me put it to you this way, black belt refueler. Yeah, exactly. The American people are not so foolish as to believe that hand sanitizer is going to combat the virus. Let me tell you why. Hand sanitizer kills organisms on your hand. It does not kill a, quote, virus because the virus is not alive in the first place. The hand sanitizer cannot replace hand washing. You may kill something. Wakanda forever. Shout out to fellow king, King of Wakanda. You are sorely missed.
Yes, you are.
Wearing your commemorative T-shirt right now.
That the president is.
So you would have him believe that
King Thank you, King.
So, so you would think that he's in big league with other democracies or monarchies other than his own people. That shows you where he lies with his people, believing in other people.
Let me ask you something, motherfucker. What exactly is wrong with a monarchy?
Everything, right?
You know what?
Gentlemen, we are moving to our next question.
You know what? If you take a really good look at Wakanda, motherfucker, that society works pretty goddamn well. You're talking shit about King T'Challa? Huh?
President,
Very
Senator,
successful society.
We're going to move to our next question. Senator Rons, no researching responses while we're debating.
No, I'm not.
No, look at the government of Wakanda. Trying to find the documentary.
So
you know what? I know King T'Challa, Senator Rons, and you, sir, are no King T'Challa.
President.
That's true. I'm not.
President Beedman.
Well, we have at least we have a health system where he doesn't have to pass away in this
Senator
country.
Rons, we're moving to our next question.
Of course.
It has become something that is practiced with many sport affiliated teams for children, where all children who participate receive an award, participation award for all. Senator Rons, we will start with you. Do you believe that this is a good strategy to award all participants, in spite of how they may perform?
In a way, yes. And let me clarify. I want to say, Tremonde, thank you for debating, moderating this debate. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I couldn't ask for a better host. I think you're
President Pete, man, no gestures, no blowjobs.
Yeah. Well, our subject couldn't see that until he did that, right? So, do I think everybody should get a trophy? Early on, yes, but after that, no. Because no one ever gets a Heisman Trophy, a Super Bowl trophy, or their own podcast until they actually participate and they actually prove to other people that they do it. So not everybody, as later in life, gets a trophy. That's just the reality of it. Right? Not everybody can have, be the president unless you make up your own presidential candidate in your mind, and then you can be the king or president of your own country if that's what you like. Right? Not everybody can be a doctor until you go to school and then tell everybody that you're a doctor. Right? Doesn't work like that. So I hope that clarifies everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that our country is a democracy, not a monarchy.
Senator Rons.
Sure.
You have to decide if you're done speaking or if you're going to continue. Because when you say that clarifies everything, that's a statement to say I have said all I need to say. But then
if you can't do the moderation job that we hired you to do, I'm pretty sure we can get the salon in to do it.
Jake, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond.
What was the question? Because there was so much babble coming out from that I really just tried to zone out.
Yes.
Just like the presidency.
Shorten the question. Do you believe that anyone who participate in a sport as a child should receive an award just because they participated?
Fantastic question. I believe that they do not need to get an award for participation. Absolutely not. What type of values are we passing on to our children? That everybody is a winner? No, absolutely not. The thrill should be from the thrill of playing the game without needing to have an award whatsoever. This is not something that is going to follow you throughout the rest of your life. You don't need to get praise and awards for everything you do. This praise and award should come from yourself and from within, and the satisfaction of the job that you've done. If my opponent did anything other than live off of his laurels of being a black ops refueler, then he would understand that. But he's been living in the past. For the past 30 years, this man has been living off of his perceived success as a fueler, and that is why he thinks that people deserve an award for doing the most piddly of tasks. This man folded camouflage nets and didn't lose a button and believed that he deserved an award for it. That is fucking ridiculous. I jumped out of airplanes. I did missions with special forces. I was in a long-range surveillance unit. Did I ask for awards for the silliest of bullshit? Obviously not. I did my job to do my job. I expect the children to enjoy playing sports for what they are for and to build strong Americans who can kick the shit out of any aggressor, whoever tries to aggress against the United States of America.
Okay, President, you have 10 seconds to respond to this next question. If you were to have a 10-year-old boy standing in front of you who just participated in a baseball team but was on the bench for the entire season and was walking to receive his reward, what would you say to that little boy before he accepts this award? You have 15 seconds.
Still, there is no reason for me to... Why are you talking, Ron? He said president.
I didn't say anything. That was
I heard you fucking speak. I fucking heard you speak.
The voices in your head are getting to you.
I would say to this young man, good job, young man, because that award was already in process. I don't need to crush that young man. It's already something that was being done. So I don't need to say, hey, you sat on the bench, go get your award. Congrats. I just say, hey, I hope you enjoy playing this game. Enjoy your award. I don't need to dash this child's hopes.
Okay, the Rons, what would you say to that 10-year-old boy walking to accept his award?
Let me rebut what the president said. Now, you would give him as you just said, a trophy for participating.
No, he didn't say I was giving him the trophy, you dumb fuck. That's not what he asked.
It's exactly what he asked.
No, it isn't.
You need to listen to the question,
motherfucker.
You need to. Oh,
no, you listen to the question.
You listen to the question.
No, you listen to the question.
So, I would say, yeah. I
Send
think him showing up and participating on the team as a cheerleader. A lot of these kids need that structure. So yes, I would think he deserves a trophy. You know, there are certain places that I've seen where children can't play because of a physical or mental defect, but their parents want to have them involved in something, sort of like a podcast. Why we put the president in charge of our podcast. Let's give him an accolade and give him a big hand for participating. So we do that every week. We participate, and he shows up, and he has a bonding session.
Okay, thank you, Senator. President, what is your thoughts of the Senator Ron's referring to this young boy who is sitting on the baseball team, referring to him as the cheerleader? What is your response to that? You have 30 seconds.
Literally, the Rons didn't understand the question. And what he's done is he's reduced the American people to sheep, cattle, believing that just by participating in a sport, if you're sitting on the bench, you're not the one who's playing the game. You're a cheerleader. He just said that this young man is the cheerleader for the team because he didn't go out and play. Now, one of two things either happened. And I would understand that why one of these things would happen. One, the Rons didn't understand the question because he's dyslexic. If you want a dyslexic candidate, go ahead and vote for the Rons. But I don't think he's dyslexic because he doesn't understand what that term even fucking means. He uses it for everything, just like he does the Dunning-Kruger effect.
President, your time is now up. Senator Rons, 10 seconds to reply.
I commend him for remembering facts that far back. Way to go. You deserve a trophy. So
I don't want your fucking trophy. That's the fucking point. Everybody doesn't need a trophy for every fucking thing that they've ever done.
Oh, don't cry. You might
They
win.
also don't need praise. They don't need accolades. And they sure as fuck don't need you shoving toilet paper down their throats.
We are going to move on to our next question. If you were one of the Beatles, which one would you be and why? Extra points if you can work Beatles song lyrics into your answer. More bonus points if you sing them. We will start with President Beefman.
This is actually a really good question. The American people like the Beatles. As a 47-year-old male with a Mexican ethnicity, I can honestly say I don't see the appeal. If I was going to be a Beatle, it would be none of them. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not a fan of the Beatles, and I don't really care. Do I like some of their songs? Sure. Was they kind of superficial? Why don't you ask me if I wanted to be Richie Valens? I'll say, yeah, I'd pick Richie Valens. You know why? That's right. From the movie La Bamba, motherfuckers. Died in an airplane crash. If you want to ask me if I want to be somebody like that, why don't you ask me something super sensitive that has something to do with my own ethnicity? Why would I want to be a member of a band that came from Britain, that came from England? Why would I want to be a member of that band? Why don't you ask me a different question? That's not culturally sensitive. That's like the coffee company. Local coffee company used to be called Beaners. And you know what? They became sensitive, realized that was a racist term, and changed their name to Bigby. And I applaud them. And that's what the American people need. They don't need racism. They don't need that sort of thing. They don't need that racist attitude shoved up their ass. Let's have some sort of cultural sensitivity when we ask these questions. But you know what? I bet you Rons would like to be all of them. You know why? Because he's a white bread, inbred motherfucker. That's why. If that's what you want, then, go ahead. But you know what? There's a lot of good genes in this gene pool. It's not all the same family members. And that's why.
President Beefman. Thank you, President Beefman. Senator Rons, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to reply.
I'd like to give a shout out to Eleanor Rigby, by the way, who is a constituent, I think, of both of us. Also, it's been a hard day.
Too, right? She don't exist.
I know, but it's been a hard day's night on that too. So, as far as I think what the president is saying, I think his support is like the Yellow Submarine. It's one of these fictitious songs that doesn't exist. And I'm not a big Beatles fan either, just because I grew up in that household listening to it. And I always thought there was more to them. I think they were an overhyped band, yes, but they took a lot of American blues, rock and roll, and used it, for their own purpose, like all of that, but they weren't ingenious, right? As far as being Latino, Ricky Valens is good, right? The Big Bopper stuff I like. I like all musics, but I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. It's just me. I can't think of anything else to say on that matter. If I had to pick someone I really like, I'd say Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. I'm a big fan of that type of music, metal. Anything else? No. I think that my constituent over there likes what I like, but if they don't, I like diversity. That's the way it goes.
President Beedman, you have 15 seconds to reply.
I think that my opponent is clearly in the closet about his love for the Beatles. It's clear because all white people love the Beatles.
Why are you racist on this?
Senator, we will grant the president 5 seconds back to his time due to interruptions. Your 5 seconds begins now, President.
Because they're inbred, and that's why they're all white. Thank you.
Senator Rons, you will have 15 seconds for your rebuttal.
I have nothing to say to that. I mean, honestly,
you just interrupted him.
So you say it's true. So you say it's true then.
Do you denounce inbreeding then?
Absolutely. So you don't?
So I do. So yeah, I like that.
You like inbreeding?
No, I said I like how you stand against it.
We're going to move to our next question.
Oh, please do.
Please help the American people understand something very common. We tend to enjoy warm food and chilled beverages, correct? Why is it that when a food and beverage is left in the same room temperature, the food becomes more cold and the beverage becomes warmer? We'll start with the Rons.
It's science. It depends on the container that it's in and the location of the food and said beverage. That's all there is to it. If you really look at the science of the container, unlike the president who says COVID doesn't exist at any point in this time, right? And it can be contained. It's all about where the food is in the container. The science is there. All you have to do is look at it. You don't need to go to school and know to be a doctor that your food is eventually going to get cold because the temperature change. It's going to dissipate the heat, and I was going somewhere with that, but I lost my train of thought, and I know the president's going to capitalize on that. So I relinquished my rest of the time to saying that do the research yourself and understand what you're doing.
Okay. President Beedman, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds for your rebuttal.
Probably the better way to break that down is to not just say it's science, is to break down in terms of that what everyone understands. When we go outside, we say that it's warm, we say it's cold, et cetera, et cetera. Really what we're talking about is the presence of, or the absence of, or the increase or the decrease of energy as we understand it. Really, warmth, cold is really the decrease or the increase of warmth. Not necessarily is it the increase or decrease of that which is cold. So the better question is, why are you leaving food out and why are you eating it after you've left it out for a long time? These are things that you should not do. This is why diseases like COVID-19 continue to propagate and increase throughout the world, even though the Rons does not believe that COVID-19 exists. He has gone so far as to believe that it does not exist that he insists on calling the virus itself COVID-19, when the virus is not COVID-19. The condition that is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus is COVID-19. And if he understood anything other than refueling, he would understand that, but he doesn't. And that's why you can't trust someone who doesn't understand science and who shoves toilet paper down people's throats.
Thank you, President. Senator Rons, you have 15 seconds for your rebuttal.
I strongly disagree because I understand science. I understand toilet paper. I realize it can be used for more than things. And I understand that I'm not a doctor, but I can't change an idiot's mind on how I think.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
President, you have 15 seconds for the final response on this subject.
I would just like to say that this man keeps talking about how he's not a doctor and saying it to me as if it's an insult for me to have gone to further my education and obtain a doctorate. And you know what, American people? Get that education. Get those dollars. Wakanda forever.
Thank you, President. And we are going to move to our last question for tonight's debate. And that question will be, does size matter? We will start with Senator Rons.
According to my friend, the president, size does matter. To me, it doesn't. It's how you use it. If you want to use that size, like toilet paper, if you wrap it around your hand, is more good. To some people, it is. To some others, it's way too much of a wasteful. Right? If you looked at his gestures earlier, he had way too much in his mouth. Right? That's just him. And I support his lifestyle, by the way. I'm not going against it. I think, if anything, if he accepts everybody for them, we're okay with that. We like him. Right? Wakanda forever. What about America forever? I want to see a better America, and he wants to go over to Wakanda. Let him go. We don't need people like that. We need people here that are willing to support America and size, right? The freedom to choose what size. We have it all. It depends on whether you want to embrace the American dream. I embrace the American dream because it is there for everybody, not at Wakanda's disposal.
President Beeman, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond.
I will tell you why the senator doesn't know if size matters or not, why he thinks it's not important, why he thinks it doesn't. It is important. Because this man, for years and years and years, was under the impression that he had a 9 or 10-inch penis until he found out that he was actually using the centimeter scale. Now, listen, let me tell you this much. I will tell you that size does matter as it comes to certain things, and this is why. Because I am not a gay man, but if I was, I would pick a cool.
Why would you bring up being gay?
Man. Now listen,
why would you bring
I would
that
pick
up?
a cool sculpted bald black man, and I will tell you why. Because you know what? I would know how to satisfy that man because I am a man. But I would feel a little bit inadequate because I am not really happy with the size of my penis. Now I'll tell you this. Now my lovely wife says that there's nothing wrong with the size of my penis, but you know what? I would not be upset if I had an extra inch or two just so that I could do things around the corner. My opponent would have you believe that size doesn't matter, but I'll tell you that it does. There's different things where size does matter. Well, what would you want smaller? God damn it, you would want a smaller tumor. So size does matter, motherfucker. What do I want? Do I want a bigger freaking broadsword to cut the head off of my enemy? Goddamn right. Do I want a small one? So size does matter, motherfucker. It's conditional. It's provisional. And I will tell you this right now, that if I had an extra 1 inch or so in girth and length, I would not mind.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And certain things you can't do. If your wife gets just a little bit bigger, you got a goddamn right that size does matter because you're going to need an extra inch or two.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So that motherfucker over there will have you believe the size doesn't matter. This is America.
Thank you,
Size
Mr.
matters.
President.
And it does not matter. It does not matter if I say Wakanda forever because Wakanda is a great nation. And I'll tell you this. We can learn a lot from Wakanda.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you in bed with Wakanda? Are you in bed with Wakanda?
Wakanda can
Thank you,
learn
Mr. President.
Are you in bed with Wakanda?
Senator
Are you
Rons.
in bed? Yes.
Senator Rons, you have 45 seconds to respond.
First of all, it's obvious he's in bed with Wakanda. He loves them. I have no problem with the relationship he has with the king. It's just that, hey, this is America.
Why? Because it's a nation. It's an African nation because they're all black. Is that why you have a problem with Wakanda?
No, I do not have a problem with
the
that.
Documentary. You didn't see a bunch of white people running around, so all of a sudden you got real upset about it.
I have a problem that you're in league with them, right? What about America? What about the states that you represent? You're
trying to say that America can't learn anything from other nations, and America can learn things from other nations, just like other nations look to us to learn some things.
First of all, we are back-to-back World War II.
We are one Earth, motherfucker.
Champs. We are back-to-back World War champs.
Because of fuelers? Is that what you're about to say?
You're damn straight.
Say that the war was won because of people were fueling vehicles and planes?
Senator Rons, unfortunately, you offered a lot of your time to President Beeman during your response.
I did not offer any at that time.
Your
Do I look
45
like I'm
seconds is up. President Beeman, you have 45
seconds. He used his
seconds.
little inches to just get ahead.
President Beeman, your time has started. 45 seconds.
Let me ask this, American people. Would you rather entrust this great nation to this man who has sat on his laurels as a black ops refueler for the past 30 years? Or would you rather entrust it to a man who has proven himself time and time again in the field as an Army paratrooper, who served in the National Guard and instructed those to become infantry mortarmen, who has served his community in the medical community, who is a career based in science? Or would you entrust it to someone who has been fueling alien aircraft for some odd reason and at times been found with his penis in a fuel tank? Is that what you want, America?
Where did you come up with
Thank you,
that one?
So, ladies and gentlemen of the Slaptail Squad Nation, thank you for joining our very first Slaptail Squad debate with our candidates, President Beefman and Senator Ross. Join us again for another Slaptail Squad.
If I may, before do we get closing? Do we have some closing arguments or kind of
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
We will.
Because I would really love to have the Rons have some closing comments, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, cool with that.
So,
I don't want to interrupt or anything. I'd like to give him some more time just so I could hear what he has to say. I'd like to have my closing comments also. That's cool.
Okay, so you want to know what I'm going to say so you can rebut it. I like that.
Would you prefer that I go first? Is that what you're saying?
No, it doesn't matter. First of all, a big shout out to Squeezy Snout. If they're listening, we'd still like to have you.
That's really what you want to spend time on?
No. I'm just giving a shout out to also my lovely wife, the first lady in my life, Carrie. Her birthday was this week. Happy birthday to you. And on a sad note, we lost a dear, great guitarist, Eddie Van Halen, who I grew up with as listening to. I thought was a fantastic guitarist who set the pace between what guitar playing was and what it could be. He really revolutionized it. There'll probably be none other like him for a long time, if any time. All right. So with that said, that's the sadness our society has of that. So I'm very sad to see the passing of that. And as far as my rebuttal goes, this has been so much fun. I can't wait to do this again. I'm not in league with Wakanda whatsoever. I think Wakanda is a great nation, but I think they can learn from us and not the other way around, right? Where they can learn from our democracy, right? And having an argument where if you argue, it doesn't mean a death sentence. It just means that someone's stupider than the next person because their comment may not be what you want. And a shout out to the Bee Man who put this on, who threw this together, and shout out to Tremonde, who is great. Don't you cut me off? No way. No. I'm not done. I'm not. No. Okay.
You got that black woman thing going on with the head.
Why do we got to bring race into this? I never once brought race into it. My opponent did, but I did. Let's see how it goes. Okay, cool. They can't see us anyway. So your rebuttal, Mr. President.
Rebuttal is more of a closing statement. American people, think long and hard about who you want to represent your great nation. Will it be the Rons or will it be the Beef Man? A true, time-tested, successful, good-looking Latino man. Is that what you want, or do you want that pasty-faced, pink-tinted, looking like Pinky in the Brain individual as your representative for this great nation?
There's nothing wrong with being Caucasian.
What was most important to you as a child when you were sitting there eating pancakes, using your thumb to fondle the front chest of Mrs. Butterworth? When you thought about the greatness of this nation, did you look to it and decide that what you wanted as a presidential representative, someone like the Rons, or did you want someone like the Beef Man? And can we learn from Wakanda? Absolutely. What you should take away from the Rons' statement is this. When he talks about the intelligence of others, the intelligence of that nation, the intelligence of this nation, remember this. He used the word stupider. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Tremonde, for moderating this debate.
Deuces.
And also remember, thank you, Rons, as well.
Hey.
Despite the fact you were in a debate, when you listen back on this, you'll realize that you agreed with a lot of things that I said. So thank you for supporting my campaign.
As my opponent.
As my opponent, yeah.
Exactly. Adios,
Yeah.
muchachos.